Hi. Some of you might know me, some of you might not. Um, Basically, I go to work, I pay my bills, and that's the way life works. So, I've got a security system at my house, of course. I've had different instances before which mandated that I got one. One time there was a guy that tried to abduct a woman at like 4 something in the morning, 3:34 in the morning, and she was screaming for her life. Oh God, he's gonna kill me! Help! That was the second house she ran to, and I was afraid I was gonna have to shoot the guy. He didn't see that I had a pistol. Well, I didn't have a pistol. I had a shotgun. He didn't see that I had it, but I had the shotgun and I had the phone in my other hand, and I was on the inside of my door, and I had to yell out at the guys like, "Hey, you gotta let her go." He started making up lies, and I wasn't making stuff up. I'd called the police as I was grabbing my gun and going to the front door because I knew something bad was going on. She was trying to bust in my house and yelling he's gonna kill me and all sorts of crap. So, anyways, when I got there, he was dragging her against her will across my yard towards the road, and it took him a couple minutes before he finally let her go and walked off in the dark. And it took the police 40 plus minutes to send one officer that was about my size. These guys were way bigger than me. The girl was bigger than me. The guy was bigger. They were a couple hundred pounds each. And, yep, one officer 40 plus minutes later. I lived 5 minutes from the police station, but it was the east side of Waterloo. There was another time in 2003 when a few police showed up at my house at 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, there's a lot of great police officers, but there are some shifty ones. These guys showed up that time of the morning. They walked around my hedge. They didn't park their car in front of my house. They parked it past the hedgerow. They walked up through the grass, were shining lights in my front picture window. I happened to be up at the time. I was playing a video game quietly. I hadn't even been home until like 9 o'clock at night. And then I tried to go to sleep. I couldn't go to sleep, so I was up at like all hours of the morning trying to go to sleep. Well, anyways, it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, sometime around there, and these guys are shining lights. I think it was like 3:30 again. It was ridiculously late or early for them to be walking through my front yard shining lights in my window. And so I cracked the door, and I didn't really look around because it was dark and I didn't want to get shot, and I didn't know who it was. And I said, "Hey, what are you guys doing out there?" "Oh, Waterloo Police. Can you please step outside?" I'm like, "Oh no, I'll do what I can to help you, but I'm not coming out of the safety of my house. No, I'm not an idiot." So then they said that there was a loud noise and complaint from a neighbor of mine. Yeah, whatever. It was a lie. They were there to do something. I don't know what. I didn't step out of my house. A year later, they killed the guy. Well, I don't know about those two cops, but a couple of Waterloo's finest killed the guy a block away from me. He was a white guy, by the way, just in case anybody's keeping records of it. So, yeah, that was about the time I decided it was time to move. Unarmed guy, point blank in the chest. They said he was trying to poke the officer's eye out. Maybe he was. I don't know. But, yeah, it doesn't sit too well with me. You know, some unarmed guys got shot point blank in the chest and died in his front yard. And I had 2 cops about a year ago trying to get me to step out of my house. Think about it. How many times do the police come over and say, "Hey, can you come out of your house for a minute?" at 3 o'clock in the morning after they shine lights in your window? And you can't see that they're cops because it's dark and they're shining light at you now, and their car isn't out front, it's somewhere else. I didn't even notice they had a car at first until after they'd walked up closer and I saw they had uniforms, and then I noticed there's a little bit of cop car showing through my hedge brush off to the right past my yard. I was like, holy mackerel, what are these guys thinking? You know. So, anyways, if anything like that happens to any of you, I would highly suggest that you do like I did. Get some cameras, put them up, get a home security system, put it up, hook it onto the internet. Then whatever happens, if it's a dishonest cop, if it's somebody trying to kill you or do you harm or whatever, or do harm to someone else, as in my case, at least you've got a video record stating what happened, because I honestly, God, I thought I was going to have to shoot that guy. He never saw the shotgun, but it was there, and I was thinking, man, this is it. I'm not going to let this guy drag this poor girl off in the middle of the night screaming, he's going to kill me, he's going to kill me, and then find out later, yeah, he did kill her. Nah, that ain't going to happen. I would have shot him first. So, and the guy was way bigger. There was no other option. He was like 300 or 400 pounds, and he's already dragging the woman off and into nowhere. Yeah, that's anybody that says that you don't need weapons, baloney. You need them. So those are the reasons why I've got a security system. There's more. Trust me, there's many more. I wish I could say those were the only times some idiot showed up on my front door at 3 or 4 in the morning trying to do me harm. And I live a normal life. Like I said, I go to work, I pay my bills, I don't do drugs, I don't do any of that crap. All right, I live a pretty low-key life. The most I do is play rock and roll music. So basically what happens is I get a security system, I get all these cameras, and you got to pay for them to be in a service. Well, I've had 3 different services. I've had Vivint, I've got ADT now, and those were fine. But it's these people I want to talk to you about. This is Fluent. Okay? I had Fluent for a couple of years. They are the most incompetent, unreliable company that I have ever seen. Basically, in 2022, I believe it was the summer of 2022 or the fall, it had to have been the fall because I started working where I work now, and it was a month or 2 into where I was working. So it was probably about September-ish, where they said, hey, we got to upgrade you to the 5G network, and okay, they're going to send me a chip, and I'm going to have to put it in. Okay, fine. So they sent me the chip, I put it in. I was on the phone with their rep for over 3 hours at night. She couldn't get it to work. I was supposed to call back the next day. I got another guy. This guy worked for me for another 3 hours on the phone. At the end of that phone call, he's like, oh, I figured it out. You know, we can't see your cell phone because, you know, the software hasn't been updated. Okay, so he's going to update my software. It's going to take all night, and it's the weekend now, so I got to call back next Monday. Okay, or sometime next week, whenever it's convenient to me. So I called up the next week, the Monday or Tuesday, whatever it was, and they said, oh, the software didn't upgrade, it must have failed. I'm like, no, it upgraded because I saw the cell phone option in the menu that was missing before, and the number version upgraded. So I looked at it, and sure enough, the number had reverted back to the old number, and the landline was the only option on the software now. So I was like, well, what the heck happened? So they didn't have an answer. They tried to upgrade. Supposedly it didn't work, and they were going to have to send a tech out. Now let's put a stop in this just for a minute of my tale of woe. So I need this system to keep myself and my property safe, even when I'm not here, especially when I'm not here. So I got this system, and it's not working. I'm still paying them $52.99 a month, according to their bill. So why didn't they upgrade my software? What am I paying for? I'm paying for them to provide a service. Well, part of that service is keeping the hardware, software updated, right? Keeping coverage to my valuable stuff and my safety. Was that happening? Obviously not, because it was several versions old. He said the rep that I talked to that figured it out, first off, he should have figured it out sooner. You always address the software issues first, then the hardware. Or if the hardware isn't reading at all, then you address the hardware and then the software. But in this case, the device was reading. It just wasn't accepting the new hardware. Well, then you look at the configurations. That's what you do. I tech for a living. You know this. If your hardware is all reading and a piece of the hardware isn't working like it should, then the next place you do is you check the software, make sure it's configured right. One of the main things in software is the version number. He said it was several versions late, and that's why it was taking so long to upgrade, and blah, 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 blah. So 2 phone calls later, they say, yep, you're going to need a technician. Now keep in mind, this is like 9, 10 hours of my time. 3 hours here, 3 hours there after work. It was daylight when it started. It was well after dark when I got off the phone. 9, 10 at night each time. So, then we get to the rest of the phone calls. I'm calling them once every couple of weeks. Probably about once a month, twice a month. Hey, this is James again. I need your person to come out here and tech this, or you can walk me through and we can get this hardware working. Well, that didn't happen. So they said they were going to send the tech, and it never happened. I gave them my phone number, I gave them my address, I gave them my email, I told them my hours that I worked. All this went on for months. Oh yeah, we're going to send a tech, you're just in a rural area. Well, I live in a town with over 72,000 people. Well, it's a county with over 72,000 people. It's not huge, but it's not small either. It's not like Dunkerton where you can walk through it in 5 or 10 minutes. We're talking a couple hours. It'd probably take you all afternoon to walk from one end of the city to the other if you didn't get sidetracked or distracted along the way. So that's the situation. They're saying that I'm so rural that they don't have a tech in my area. Okay, fine. When you get a tech, please send one out. This goes on for over half a year. So in 2023, around June, I was calling again. And I started calling, and I back up. I think it was May that I started calling every week. And then it turned into every day after a few weeks. And I was giving them my number and my name and my email and all this information every call, saying, hey, you guys have said you're going to send a tech out. I need a tech out here. Well, then I'm going to use the bathroom, and there was a guy walking down my alley who made eye contact with me. He'd already walked past my house, turned around and looked back at me, made eye contact, which is weird because I was on my roof at the time, behind a tree. Most people, I've been up there before, and as long as I'm not walking around or making noise, you'd never know I was there. This guy didn't look behind him and then look up. He looked straight up at me. He knew I was there. I nodded to him, waved. He didn't even acknowledge my existence, turned around and kept on walking. So I had to go to the bathroom. I go in my house. I'm doing my business, and my window's open because it's summertime, and I'm hearing this guy's voice. He's describing to somebody else how to get to my house, I'd assume on a cell phone. And I would assume it's that guy, but some male voice, some young male voice is outside my house describing, yeah, it's the orange house down on Vermont Street. Yeah, the second one in from the corner. I'm like, whoa, buddy. What? I mean, it's not disturbing. I just told you guys about my house. What's disturbing is that somebody I don't know is talking to somebody else that I don't know, and they're outside my house describing how to get there. That leads me to believe that maybe they're up to no good, and they're going to come do something that I would not like. So I finished my business as quick as I could. Within 40 seconds, I was around, down my stairs, out my door, looking through the alley. They were gone. Whoever it was is gone. I went around my block. There was one other person that I saw. They did not look like the same voice that I heard. So I don't know who it would have been. Nobody was in the neighbors' yards. I don't know. My alley has a T in it, so they could have went many different ways. So I get on the phone to these guys again, and I explain the urgency to Fluent again. I said, hey, this is a situation. I need this done yesterday. I need somebody here tonight. You guys keep on telling me there's going to be a tech. Well, there had been one time where they had sent a message saying that the tech wasn't able to reach me and so he wasn't going to show up. One time over this whole period of months, over half a year. And I called them up and said, what are you talking about? We weren't supposed to have a tech person come to, this is during a time when I'm at work. I told you my work hours, I told you my information, and there wasn't even supposed to be a tech coming. You're supposed to send him sometime when I was available, not when you knew I wasn't available and unannounced. Usually they send you a message saying, hey, be home Tuesday because the tech's going to be. I would have made time, even if it was time during, this was just totally unannounced. Hey, the tech couldn't show up at your house, couldn't find you, so he's not going to show up at your house today. He couldn't get a hold of you, so he's not going to show up. That was the message I got. One time. So I started calling them every day after that, and I'd call them about this guy outside my house. And then I had a couple other people that showed up around that were different situations. And I suspected that somebody was going to do something that I would not appreciate to either me or my property or both. So, I was calling them several times a day, saying, hey, when are you going to get these people in here? Because I go to the neighborhood, which is a website that everybody around here posts, and I knew that they had people that had applied for a city permit to go door to door to sell Fluent services. And if they've got people going to sell Fluent services, then they've got techs in the area to hook it up. And that was their whole argument, that they didn't have a tech, and I lived in such a rural area this whole half a year plus that I've been paying them. This is the key part. I've been paying them every month. $52.99 every month. Right? Check's been going through, everything's good, except I'm paying for nothing because they haven't supplied it. So I'm talking to these people on the phone. I'm like, you guys got to get somebody down here. Well, about the 10th or 15th call over a couple days, I was calling them 2 or 3 times a day. I'd call them before I went to work. I'd call them after I went to work. I'd call them on my break at work sometimes. And I was polite, but I was like, you guys need to get down here. I was firm by that point. This is beyond ridiculous. So, anyways, the tech I talked to one night after work, I was leaving the building talking to him, saying, hey, when are you going to get this tech down here? And the guy said, well, maybe it's just better. You've only got a month left on your service contract. Maybe it's better if you just cancel. I'll transfer you to the cancellation department. And I asked him, I said, is that really how you want to do this? Yep, I think that'd be best for all of us. I'm like, okay, transfer me away. I'll cancel. So I canceled that night. They said I had to send them a written notice, so I sent, which is bull, but I sent them a written notice through the email they gave me. And I figured I was done. Well, they tried to bill me after that. And I talked to them again. I said, hey, you guys, we're done. Your rep canceled. And I've already got ADT over. ADT took about 2 days, maybe, to get somebody here. And they hooked me up. I immediately had coverage, thankfully. Cameras, doorbell cameras on both sides of my house, blocking both ways in and out. I love it. So I'm paying them more money. I don't know if it's money well spent or not, but it's about almost 1.5 times, maybe closer to 2 times the money that Fluent charged me every month. Not happy about that. They couldn't upgrade my system. They had to upgrade everything. All the hardware had to be new. So, okay, sure. So I got this box of old hardware from the Fluent system. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. Probably try to sell it on eBay to get some money out of it. But I've got over 6 months, well over 6 months of payments that I'd paid their company for no service. And I asked for it back. They said no, and then they tried billing me again. Now, this is the second time I'd given them a written notice. They said that they didn't get the written notice and it was my fault. Now, you're seeing a recurrent theme here. It's my fault that I didn't answer the phone. Well, they'd never called. They claimed that they'd called me several times each time I talked to them. I'm like, no, you haven't, because I don't got any messages on my phone. I don't got any messages in my email. I got one message the whole time. So I know that they could contact me because they left me that one message, which was bull, but they left me that one message. So I said, don't tell me you guys can't contact me because you guys left me a message and I got it. It was bull that you sent this tech out, supposedly sent a tech out that day, but then he couldn't get a hold of me, and so he never came over. I don't even know, that's a unicorn to me. He never was at my door because I would have seen him on my cameras because I got my own cameras up, not just my security system cameras. Nobody ever showed. This guy just left a message saying, hey, I was scheduled to come over today, but since I can't get a hold of you, I'm canceling. Okay. And it was at a time when I told them that I worked. So, anyways, not to backpedal on this, not to retread old ground, but I'd told them this. They were well past the point of incompetence at this point. I mean, they hadn't upgraded my software. They hadn't had good phone tech support to help me install a card. They were unable or unwilling to send a tech, and the worst part is they tried blaming me for not being available. I made myself more than available. I made myself annoyingly available, calling him every day. So, yeah. Anyways, so I sent them the second notice. They tried to bill me. I had to pay my bank $35 stop payment on that. Over a year later, I got another bill. And they were trying to bill me again, taking money out of my checking account under a different Fluent account than the first one I blocked. I went to my bank, I said, this is ridiculous. I'll pay you another $35. Block this shit. How many times these guys are trying to rob me? You know, I paid my payments every month for no service, which is ridiculous. They couldn't get a tech. That's ridiculous. And now they're trying to say that I owe them $591.60. Fluent, you can take that and stick it where the sun don't shine. You're not getting one penny out of me ever again. In fact, if there's any lawyers out there that think I've got a case, I will take it to court. I'm that pissed off about it. And honestly, if there's any of you out there that have had bad experiences with Fluent, please comment in the section. I'm going to post this on YouTube. I'm going to make comments available. Please comment on this. Give me your bad stories about Fluent. Maybe we could make a joint lawsuit on these jokers. It is ridiculous that they didn't provide the service that they promised. They couldn't send a tech out. It is ridiculous that they insisted that it was my fault when I'm the customer. You know, they're the ones that are responsible for keeping the stuff running. I'm not the guy that does that. I pay them to do that, right? So the last guy that was on the phone with me, he was trying to get money out of me, and I told him, I said, look, I said, I had a motorcycle accident. This is like last July. I was like, I had a motorcycle accident. I broke my neck. I'm temporarily disabled. Even if I had the money, which I don't, I would not pay you. Your company, it's all your fault that this happened. I'm sorry. I had to fire you. I didn't want to. Your rep transferred me to your cancellation department, suggested it. And he came back at the same, I've never seen, this is what he said, I've never seen so many times that we've tried to reach out to somebody and nobody's been there. I didn't know what to tell him at that point. I was like, are you insane? I mean, you can't say that you had the wrong phone number because you sent me that one message and I got it and called you back and said, what are you guys doing? Okay, and that's the only message I got. Over half a year, 8 months or whatever it was. It might even been over 8 months. It makes me physically, I don't want to sound annoyed right now, but it is. It makes me physically ill to think of paying these people and getting ripped off, and then them trying to rip me off more, which is exactly what happened. Now, this phone call with this guy was last July. All right. So a month ago is the last time that they took money out of my checking account, and I had to go put another stop payment on them. It's ridiculous. These guys, their service is a joke, non-existent pretty much. If they come door to door to your city, I highly suggest do not take their service on. Like I said, I've had Vivint before. Vivint was fine. The only reason I changed them is because I actually got the alarm was going off too much. And after a few times too many, I had to pay the police department for service calls because they were showing up at my door like once every couple weeks because the alarm was going off and they couldn't figure it out. And I'm like, well, you know, this costs me money. I'm changing services. And that's when I went to Fluent, unfortunately. Now I do ADT. ADT has not had any problems. Vivint, the only problems they had is they couldn't figure out how to get my alarm to stop going off. It wasn't going off unnecessarily. It was going off and I couldn't hear it. So, anyways, ADT, Vivint, they were honest companies. I canceled on Vivint and they were good with it and they didn't try to bill me extra. Fluent did not provide the service, and the last phone call, the guy, it said, well, you signed the contract, sir. Even if we weren't providing service, you were still under obligation of that contract to pay. And I said, I did pay every month. And I said, this is the problem, is that you weren't providing your half. Isn't that contract, somewhere in the contract jargon, legal mumbo jumbo, it doesn't say that I'm going to give you $50 some every month, $52.99 every month for nothing. it says that you're going to provide a service to me, correct? And that I'm going to pay you this much for that service, correct? He was quiet. I said, you didn't provide that service. Well, you still had to pay. I said, I did pay. I paid up to the point where your guy transferred me to your cancellation department and asked me basically to fire you. So I fired your company. I was done paying, and you still tried to bill me, and I had to put a stop payment on you. $35. And you guys are still trying to bill me, and this is a year ago. I was talking to this guy last July. Now a month later, I got another company account from Fluent, not the same one that I canceled the first time. I had to pay another $35 to cancel that payment. And it's lucky I was watching them, or they would have been leeching just like they've been leeching before all those years I had service with them. They should have upgraded my software. They should have upgraded my hardware. They should have sent a tech out. The thing they really shouldn't have done is said that they were trying to get a hold of me hundreds of times when they know damn well that that was not the case. I got email. I got phone records. I have a lot of stuff to back me up. I don't care what their computer says or what their representatives say. My call log says that I did not get any messages except for that one time, one message at a time when I specifically told them that I would not be available. So they could have got a hold of me. They know damn well that they could have, and they know damn well that they did not. And then they tried to blame it on me, saying that I wasn't available when they tried to reach out. Avoid this company, Fluent, Fluent, the worst home security provider that you can get. A lot of you guys probably don't know this. You can go to Menards, you can go online, you can buy these systems and put them in yourself. They're not too hard. The problem is that you got to hook them up to a service, and the service has to work with whatever hardware you've got. So like ADT, it has to be like these Google Nest cams, and these things, you know, the ADT console. So, anyways, if Fluent comes around to your neighborhood, realize them for what they are. They are a scam. They're going to bill you, and they're going to insist that they take the automatic deduction out of your check. That's just the way it works. ADT does that too. But the difference between ADT, hopefully, because I haven't had to cancel ADT, the difference is with Fluent, I had all my contract obligations met. The hardware was paid for, the service was well paid for, and they hadn't even provided service for over half a year to me by the time I finally was canceled at their representative's suggestion, demand, whatever. He's the one that transferred me to the cancellation department. And I explained it just like I explained it to you. I said, your service rep cannot get me a technician, and he transferred me to the cancellation department tonight so I could cancel because he feels that this is the best solution to their problem. That's how I explained it to the Fluent cancellation department. They didn't get me customer service. They just canceled me. Does that sound like any kind of legit company to you? I don't think so. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say. Again, if there's any lawyers out there, if there's any people that have stories about Fluent's poor service, please message me. And if your lawyers, a group of lawyers, it'd be better if you think that we've got a case, I would for sure take it to court with you. I've already tried calling a couple different lawyers. They didn't get back with me. It's a shame that we live in a society like this to where you're dependent on these things for your own health and well-being. And it's just like, you got to have insurance on your house, you got to have car insurance, you got to have this insurance, but on top of that, you got to pay for your home security system bill every month, and your camera bill every month, and the electricity to run it all. And why? Because people do shit that they shouldn't do to other people. It's extortion, basically. And then you turn around and get a dishonest company like Fluent, and they're taking money and not even giving you the protection that they're supposedly selling. Just like I said, it makes me physically ill. I hope y'all don't think I'm being negative. I hope y'all don't think I'm a bad person or I'm just habitually angry. It's just that I have a lot of negative people that come in contact with me, and this company is no exception to the rule. Unfortunately, this company is no exception to the rule. So, yep,